Hello and welcome to yet another episode. In this video, I'm going to teach you about data organization and data pre-processing. Up until this point, I have mentioned several times how important data is to the practice of deep learning. And I have even gone ahead to state that data is the raw material for deep learning. And I have also mentioned that deep learning is more about the data more than it is about the algorithms of neural networks. So in this video, I want to spend time to talk to you about how you organize your data, how you pre-process your data, and how you codify your supervision into the data that you'll be using to train your model. So let's begin by talking about tabular data. And by tabular data, what I mean is any data that can be laid out in a tabular form and interpreted in a tabular form. So for example, let's say we are trying to create a database that stores information about students and how long they studied, the resources they used to study, and then whether they passed or failed in an examination at the end of the semester. The way we can lay this thing out in a tabular form is to have columns, okay? So we can have something like students code. I'm going to use std code for the student code. That is how we're going to identify the student, okay? And then we will have another field for course code, and then we will have another field for hours studied. So how many hours the student studied. Okay, so with these three columns, we can record the information about each student as a row. So I can put in here student 1, 2, 3, and then for course, let's say CS 101. This student studied for, let's say, 5 hours. And then I can have another row, say student 1, 4, 2, for the same course. He studied for 4 hours a day. I can have another entry for student 1, 5, 7 for a different course, studied for 3 hours. And I'm going to make my last entry for student 182 for a similar course, CS 211, studied for 6 hours. Okay. So in deep learning and machine learning in general, having a table like this is a common way of laying out the information that you will use to train your model. I have not yet spoken about how we codify our supervision into the table. I just want to use this table to teach you about some terms and definitions that you need to be aware of, and then I will show you how you can codify your supervision into the data. So let's assume this table doesn't end just here. There are certain things we can observe about this table. It is about the fact that the table has 3 columns, so 1, 2, 3. And in machine learning, the column is referred to, each column is referred to as a feature. a feature. So this is a feature. This is a feature. And this is a feature. In traditional databases, you call these columns, but in machine learning, we call each column a feature. Now you might ask, what is a feature? A feature simply is any physical, observable, and recordable quantity about the entity whose data you are capturing in your database or your table. So a feature is something like the student code. It is something you can observe. It is something you can record. Let me use an even simpler example. Let's say instead of storing information about students, courses, and how many hours they studied, let's say we decide to store information about just students. What are some of the details about a student that you can store in your database? Something like a name, date of birth, major course of study, email address, house address. These are all things that you can observe, measure, and record about students. So in deep learning, anything that can be observed, anything that can be recorded is termed as a feature. So this is the student code feature, course code feature, hours studied feature. So whenever you hear feature or feature set, as far as machine learning is concerned, what should come into your mind is the attributes of the entity that have been recorded for the purpose of building a model. It is as simple as that. So if we were going to use this table or data in this table to train a model that we expect to be able to predict whether a student will pass or fail a course based on how many hours the student studied, then we can say the student code, course code, hours studied collectively forms our feature set of the training data. Now, if you take a row like this, so I'm going to cross through it. A row like this is known as a training example because it is one complete information about a student as far as the structure of this table is concerned. So one row is called a training example. So this is a training example. Okay. Now, every row is referred to as a training example. The entire table or the entire information that you'll be using to train your model is known as the data set. That is, the data in its entirety is called the data set. So this is what I wanted to show you as far as data organization is concerned. In the next video, I will show you how you can codify your supervision into your data set. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.